I want to tell you something strange today, something that took me years to fully believe, because everyone tells you the same thing. Breathe deeply, meditate, go for a walk, journal your feelings, and calm down. And all of that helps a little. But here is the thing that kept bothering me. If breathing and meditation really reset a stressed nervous system, why do so many people sit in stillness for 20 minutes and still feel that low hum of tension in their chest, their jaw, their shoulders, even after the app tells them they did great? Something did not add up, and when something does not add up, you look closer. And what I found is that there is a single, strange, almost embarrassing-looking movement that can shift your nervous system in 60 seconds faster than almost anything you have tried. And it is not breathing, and it is not meditation, it is shaking. Before I explain exactly what this looks like, and I promise I will show you the whole thing, step by step. If you are new here, this is Smart Psychology, and every week we dig into the strange, hidden mechanics of the mind and the body. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, stay close, because what you are about to hear will change the way you look at stress for the rest of your life. Now let me slow down for a second, because I do not want you picturing something silly, some random flailing around in your living room, hoping it fixes your anxiety. This is not that. This is not random at all. It is one of the most precise, most researched, most ancient responses your body has, and modern life has trained almost all of us to suppress it completely, which, as you are about to see, might be one of the quiet reasons so many people walk around feeling tense, tired, and strangely unable to relax even when nothing is actively wrong. So let me start with a question, a real one, worth sitting with. What actually happens inside your body when you feel afraid or overwhelmed or under threat? Most people would say adrenaline, cortisol, a racing heart. And that is true, but that is only half the story, because your nervous system is not one system, it is two, working in a kind of constant negotiation. The sympathetic branch, which is your gas pedal, the one that floods you with energy to fight or to run, and the parasympathetic branch, your brake pedal, the one that is supposed to bring you back down once the danger has passed. In a healthy wild animal, this works beautifully. A rabbit gets chased by a fox. It floods with survival energy, and if it escapes, watch closely, because this is the part almost nobody notices. The rabbit does not just sit there panting and go back to eating grass. It shakes, its whole body trembles violently for several seconds, sometimes longer, and then, and only then, it calmly returns to grazing as if nothing happened. That tremor is not fear leaking out randomly. It is the nervous system literally completing a cycle, discharging the enormous surge of survival energy that was mobilized but never used, because the rabbit never actually fought the fox, it only ran. So all that stored charge has to go somewhere, and the somewhere is the shake. Humans have the exact same biological wiring, the exact same discharge mechanism built into our nervous system. We are mammals. Our brainstem is not that different from a deer or a dog, and if you have ever watched a dog after a stressful vet visit, you have seen it. The dog gets back in the car and shakes itself, hard, from nose to tail, and within a minute it is calm again, wagging, ready for a treat. But humans stopped doing this a long time ago. We learned as children to hold still, to stop shaking, to compose ourselves, to be brave. And every time an adult told a frightened child to stop shaking and calm down, that child, nervous system and all, learned a very costly lesson. Finish the job quietly, suppress the discharge, hold the tension inside. Multiply that by every stressful event across an entire childhood, then an entire adulthood, decades of near misses in traffic, decades of tense meetings, decades of arguments swallowed and never released, and you get an adult body walking around holding a lifetime of undischarged survival energy in its muscles, its fascia, its nervous system, like a battery that was charged over and over, but never allowed to fully drain. Think about how many small threats your body registers in an ordinary week. A near accident on the highway, a tense email from a boss, an argument with a partner that never got resolved, a deadline that made your chest tighten for 3 straight days. In each of these moments, your sympathetic nervous system did exactly what it was designed to do. It mobilized energy. It prepared your muscles to fight or to flee. And then, because none of these situations called for an actual physical fight or an actual physical run, that mobilized energy had nowhere to go. It did not evaporate. Energy inside a biological system does not simply disappear. It gets stored, mostly in the very muscles that were preparing to act, the hip flexors, the shoulders, the jaw, the muscles along the spine, and it waits there, quietly, sometimes for years, showing up later as unexplained tightness, restless legs at night, a jaw you realize you have been clenching all day, or that low-grade, background hum of anxiety that never has an obvious cause, because it is not really about anything happening right now. It is leftover charge from 100 moments that were never allowed to finish. This is where the shaking practice comes in, sometimes called neurogenic tremors, sometimes called therapeutic tremoring, developed and studied by trauma researchers who noticed this exact pattern in animals and wondered whether humans could deliberately trigger the same release. And what they found, in study after study, working with veterans, with car accident survivors, with people carrying ordinary chronic stress from ordinary chronic lives, is that your body still remembers how to do this. It never forgot, it was only told to stop. And with the right conditions, 60 seconds is genuinely enough to begin the process, not to finish healing an entire life of stress in 1 minute. Nobody is promising that. But to start measurably shifting your body out of a locked, braced, defended state and into something looser, calmer, more alive. Here is the mechanism, and I find this part genuinely beautiful once you understand it. Deep inside your muscles are tiny sensors called proprioceptors and muscle spindles. They constantly report back to your brainstem about tension, position, and load. When you deliberately induce a fine, controlled tremor, by standing with soft knees and letting a natural shake begin in your legs, then spread upward, these sensors start firing in a rhythmic pattern that the brainstem interprets, quite literally, as the completion of a threat response. Your vagus nerve, the long wandering nerve that connects your brainstem to your heart, your lungs, and your gut, and that governs most of your parasympathetic braking system, begins to activate more strongly during and after the tremor. Heart rate variability, which is one of the clearest measurable signs of a well-regulated nervous system, rises. Cortisol, the stress hormone that stays elevated in chronically tense bodies, drops. And people report, almost universally, a wave of warmth or tingling, or a long exhale they did not know they were holding, followed by a sense of looseness in the jaw, the shoulders, the lower back, places where most of us silently store years of unspent tension. I want to tell you about someone. I will call her Rachel, because her real story is not mine to use in full, but the pattern is one I have heard again and again. Rachel was 34, worked in finance, and had lived for years with a tight, anxious knot sitting permanently under her sternum. She described it exactly like that, a knot, always there, whether she was at work, on vacation, or lying in bed at midnight staring at the ceiling. She had tried therapy, which helped her understand her anxiety intellectually. She had tried medication for a while, which took the edge off but left her feeling foggy. She had tried yoga, breathing apps, cold showers, everything the internet tells you to try. Nothing touched the knot directly, it just kept living there quietly, like a tenant who refused to leave. A friend introduced her to shaking practice almost as a joke. She felt ridiculous the first time, standing in her bedroom, letting her knees go soft, waiting for a tremor that felt impossible to summon on command. But after about 40 seconds, her legs genuinely began to tremble on their own, small at first, then stronger, moving up into her hips, her lower back, and she started crying without any obvious reason. Not sad crying, just release, like something finally had permission to move. She did this for 90 seconds that first night, and slept, she told me, more deeply than she had in 3 years. Within a month of doing this most evenings, the knot under her sternum, the one she had carried for over a decade, was in her words mostly gone, still faint on hard days, but no longer a constant resident. What struck her most, she told me later, was not even the physical relief. It was realizing how much energy she had spent every single day simply managing that knot, working around it, pretending it was not there, and how strange it felt to finally have that energy back for something else, for her actual life. If any of this is resonating with you, if you recognize that tight, wound-up feeling that never fully lets go even when nothing is technically wrong, do me a favor and hit subscribe here on Smart Psychology, because we are going deep into the nervous system, trauma, and the strange, overlooked mechanics of the mind in the coming weeks, and you will not want to miss the rest of this series. Now let me walk you through exactly how to do this carefully, because doing it correctly matters more than doing it hard. Start standing, feet about hip-width apart, knees soft, not locked, almost like you are about to sit into a very gentle chair but never actually sit. Let your arms hang loose at your sides. Begin very gently bouncing your knees, tiny, almost imperceptible movements, like a light, loose bounce, nothing forced. After about 20 or 30 seconds of this gentle bounce, stop actively bouncing and simply wait, stay soft in the knees, and notice what your legs want to do on their own. For most people, within another 10 to 20 seconds, a fine tremor begins to appear, sometimes just in the thighs, sometimes moving into the calves, the hips, occasionally up into the lower back, and even the arms and jaw. Do not fight it, and do not force it into something bigger than it wants to be. Just allow it. Breathe slowly through your nose, and let the tremor run its own course. For your first few sessions, 60 to 90 seconds is plenty. You can build up to 3 or 5 minutes over time as your body becomes more comfortable letting go. If nothing happens the first time, that is completely normal. Some nervous systems are more guarded than others. Especially if you spent years being told to hold still, keep gently bouncing, breathing, and being patient. And for most people, the tremor arrives within the first week of regular practice. A few practical adjustments make a real difference here. If you are someone who spends most of the day sitting, at a desk, in a car, on a couch, try doing this practice standing near a wall or a sturdy piece of furniture at first, just resting a hand lightly on it. Not for support exactly. More for a sense of safety while your body learns that it is allowed to wobble without anything bad happening. If standing feels like too much at first, you can begin lying on your back on the floor, knees bent, feet flat, and gently let your knees fall side to side, a small rocking movement, until your legs start to tremble on their own. This is often an easier entry point for people who feel anxious about losing control while upright. Breathing matters more than most people expect. Keep your mouth slightly open and let your exhale be slow and a little longer than your inhale. This alone nudges your nervous system toward the parasympathetic side and makes the tremor more likely to arrive and more likely to feel pleasant rather than strange. Some people also find it helpful to let out a long, low sound on the exhale, almost a sigh or a hum. This is not required, but sound and vibration both seem to support the same discharge process, which is part of why you sometimes see athletes shake out their arms and let out a sharp exhale right before a big lift or a big sprint. Their body already knows this trick. Most of us just stopped using it deliberately. A few honest notes here, because I would be doing you a disservice if I left them out. This is not a substitute for professional trauma treatment. If you are dealing with severe post-traumatic stress, please work with a qualified therapist alongside anything you try at home. Some people, especially those with a significant trauma history, experience strong emotional waves during this practice, tears, unexpected memories, a rush of feeling. This is not dangerous. It is simply stored material moving. But if it ever feels like too much, stop, sit down, place a hand on your chest, and breathe slowly until you feel steady again. If you have a heart condition, seizure disorder, or a recent injury, talk to your doctor before trying deliberate tremoring. Your safety always comes first. Let me come back to the biology for one more moment, because there is a piece of this that I find remarkable. When your body completes this discharge cycle, it does not only calm the nervous system in the moment, it appears to change your baseline. People who practice this regularly show measurably higher resting heart rate variability over weeks, meaning their nervous system sits closer to a calm, flexible state even when nothing stressful is happening, and a flexible nervous system is a resilient one, able to rise into stress when needed and drop back down afterward, instead of staying stuck in a permanently braced, defended posture. This matters far beyond just feeling relaxed for an evening. Chronically elevated stress hormones are linked to poor sleep, weakened immune function, digestive trouble, and even accelerated aging at a cellular level. So a body that learns again how to fully complete its stress cycles is not just calmer, it is genuinely healthier, in ways that ripple into nearly every system it touches. This is also why the practice tends to help such a wide range of people for such different reasons. Parents who spend all day physically braced, lifting, carrying, catching, tend to notice their lower back and hips loosen in a way years of stretching never quite achieved, because stretching lengthens a muscle, but it does not discharge the stored survival charge sitting underneath the tightness. Office workers who sit hunched over a screen for 8 or 9 hours a day often find their shoulders and jaw are the first places the tremor shows up, sometimes accompanied by a small, unexpected yawn or a shiver that runs down the spine, both of which are simply more signs of the nervous system shifting gears. Athletes and people who train hard physically sometimes assume they must already be discharging plenty of stress through exercise, and exercise does help, but it is not the same mechanism. A hard workout burns energy and builds the body, while a tremor specifically completes an incomplete threat response, which is why some competitive athletes who added this practice to their routine reported falling asleep faster the same night, even after training loads that used to leave them wired until well past midnight. There is also something quietly profound about what this practice teaches you, beyond the physiology. Most of us grew up believing that being strong meant staying perfectly still under pressure, jaw clenched, spine straight, emotions contained. But watch any healthy animal in the wild, and you see the opposite lesson. Strength includes the ability to fully discharge what you have survived, not just endure it silently. Learning to shake on purpose, in a safe, quiet room, is in some strange way learning to trust your own body again, to stop treating it like something to control at all times, and start treating it like a system that already knows how to heal itself, if you simply stop interrupting the process. And there is something almost humbling in that idea, that after all the apps, the supplements, the productivity hacks we reach for when we feel overwhelmed, the actual answer was already built into us, sitting dormant, waiting for permission we never thought to give it. I also want to be honest about something. This practice is simple, but simple does not mean effortless or instant. If you do it once and never again, you will likely feel a pleasant wave of relaxation that fades by the next morning. The real shift, the kind that dissolves a knot someone has carried for a decade, tends to take consistency. Most people notice a real change in baseline tension within 2 to 3 weeks of doing this daily or near daily, and a deeper, more lasting shift over 2 to 3 months. But here is the honest comparison worth sitting with. Those weeks and months are going to pass regardless. The only real choice is whether you spend them carrying the same unreleased tension you have carried for years, or whether you spend 60 seconds a day teaching your nervous system, finally, how to finish what it started. So here is what I want you to do, tonight, not next week, not once you feel less busy, tonight. Find a quiet corner of your home, stand with your knees soft, let your body gently bounce for 30 seconds, then go still, and simply wait to see what your legs want to do on their own. Even if nothing dramatic happens the first time, you are sending your nervous system a signal it has been waiting years to receive, that it is finally safe enough and finally allowed to let go. If something in this video shifted how you think about stress, about your own body, about what strength actually means, do us a favor here at Smartsaw Psychology and subscribe, because there is so much more we want to explore together about the hidden wiring underneath everyday human behavior. Share this with someone you love who always seems wound up, who never fully relaxes, who carries their stress in their shoulders and their jaw and never quite puts it down. And most importantly, do not just watch this and move on. Stand up right now, let your knees go soft, and give your body 60 seconds to remember something it has known all along. Take care of your nervous system. It has carried you through more than you probably give it credit for, and it deserves a little more from you than another minute of holding still. I will see you in the next one.